Hello everyone, and welcome back to our weekly recap series where we'll be looking at teases, pre-order announcements, releases for the week, anything newsworthy in the 1/6 scale world that might not merit its own video, but that I wanted to touch base on. This week, I have to say, honestly felt a little lighter, especially after the flurry of activity we've had recently. But there were definitely a few big reveals and teases coming our way that we'll be getting into. But before we get into this week's 6 scale news, I have to go over my mandatory disclaimer. So here goes. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies, not affiliated with any resellers either. And I'm not using this as a sales post, which is why I don't post links for purchasing these. Purpose of these videos is just to discuss interesting news posted essentially on social media that impact 6 scale figure collecting, and in particular things I find interesting or products I'm tempted to get for my own collection. And I do think once pictures go public for announcement, it's pretty much up for discussion. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into things, and we're going to start with teases. And the big one is without a doubt the tease we got from Hot Toys, showcasing the numerous Batsuits from what would be the Keaton Batman Hall of Suits, which we also briefly saw in the trailer for the upcoming Flash movie. Now, front and center is the modern suit, which Hot Toys already put up for pre-order, and I think looks amazing. Now, directly behind it, you can see what I think is the 89 suit, and next to it, the suit we saw in Batman Returns, with the more armored appearance. Now, starting from the right and working our way left, you have this heavily armored suit with goggles and spikes on the knee pads and very high lace boots. Almost looks like a climbing suit of sorts. I think it looks pretty impressive, to be honest. The next suit is really interesting because it's, I think, a flight suit. Although at first I thought it might be for underwater use because of the oxygen looking connection to the mouth, but I think it might be a high altitude flight suit with the wings that seem to be pretty long. It definitely looks a little more retro, and I think it fits in great with this Keaton world. Now, we'll skip over the 3 middle suits, since we've seen those before. But next to the 89, you have the one that everyone, including myself, is going to go crazy for. And it's the blue and gray suit that's more comic accurate. Now, looking at it, it looks incredible. I love the utility belt and the shape of the cowl's lower portion. The only slightly questionable thing for me is the detail on the forehead, looking almost like a furrowed brow. But other than that, it looks amazing. And the final suit keeps that light gray body with the black cowl. The detailing on the cowl is also interesting. Not exactly sure what to make of it, but it does seem much more tactical, which with what I think, I don't know that they're guns, but there might be some kind of tranquilizers in holsters, but definitely a unique look. So going back to the full picture, together I think they look amazing, and they're all standing on this new base that we got with the modern suit pre-order. And I did try zooming into the nameplates because I think the suits are all actually identified there, but no luck. So I think the setup looks great. Now I have to be a little bit of a downer, and I don't mean to, but the question for me is, will Hot Toys actually follow through and make these? I mean, it's great that they're teasing them, and we know that Hot Toys is capable of this. I mean, look at the sheer number of Iron Man 3 Hall of Armor suits. But there's still a question of whether or not Hot Toys will pursue these. I think it's a great tease for what they can do, but ultimately my guess is the release of these will be tied into how well the movie does. If the movie's a gigantic hit, I think they'll go deep in the line and make these, but otherwise plans can change. For me, I don't know that I would pick them all up, but I might be tempted to pick up 1 or 2, so we'll just have to see what Hot Toys does here. I mean, they're committing, and when we move on to announcements, we'll see that more clearly. They're definitely committing to this line. Now, the next tease is coming again courtesy of X06, and it seems to be showcasing Odo from Deep Space Nine. Although the picture does seem to show him in the transformation look, I think based on the chatter on Facebook, this is more of a photoshopping thing, and we'll be getting a more normal version of the character. Again, no dates on this one, but just a vague indication that pre-orders will be launching. And DS9 does need some love. We got the great Cisco release, and Quark should be coming soon, and then they have teased Odo, Kira, and of course Dax. So hopefully with the main Voyager crew wrapping up, we'll start seeing some of these go on pre-order. And the final tease or news story is coming out from InArt, who is following the amazing looking Harry Potter figure by showcasing the production pictures of their Fellowship of the Ring Gandalf. And look, I did not order this guy, and I didn't even cover the launch for some reason, but I do have to give InArt credit here. What they're showing looks very impressive. Detail work in the accessories looks insane, and then the sculpt for Gandalf with the rooted hair and beard, just jaw-dropping. And when I do my reviews, I do look closely at the spare hands that we get with these, and one thing I will say for InArt based on these pictures, detail work on these hands is just unbelievable. The paint app, everything. They're not just throwaway pieces, right? There's a ton of detail there that really makes them feel real. Like I mentioned, I won't be getting this one, but I do think it looks incredible, and I'm looking forward to living vicariously through my fellow collectors, because I'll be watching these videos as these get released. So kudos to InArt on what looks like a great second effort. Now, let's move on to announcements, and we have to kick things off again with a big one, which is the Ben Affleck Batman with the Batcycle. Although there are 3 different ways to get this or package this up, and the figure isn't without controversy. And to start, I'll say, even though this was a huge announcement, I didn't feel super excited when I saw the pictures. Not because the figure is lacking, but I think for me, first of all, it feels a little sad that this is the goodbye for Batfleck, essentially. And I at least appreciate that we got to see one of the most amazing Batman action scenes in live action during that warehouse scene in Batman vs. Superman. But it's sad that we're not going to get to see that the character progress, or this version of the character progress. But moving back to the figure, we have to start by discussing the biggest issue here, and that is the likeness. This doesn't look like Ben Affleck at all. It just doesn't. I'm great at justifying sculpts for myself that aren't 100% there, but sometimes I have to just say what I think, and I just don't think the likeness is there. Granted, I think this is also linked to the fact that if you read the description for the figure, Hot Toys makes no mention whatsoever about Ben Affleck. And usually when they release a new figure with a new sculpt and want to showcase that, they'll write something like, with new and improved Ben Affleck sculpt. And here, not a peep. So something is going on, because they clearly can't even mention his name. I'm sure there's some interesting backstory with the licensing, but that might be more of the issue. Now, if you have any of the previous Hot Toys Batfleck figures, I'm hoping, like I do, I'm hoping you might be able to use one of those mouth plates on those releases to get a more accurate looking figure here. But that really is the big issue. Looking beyond that, though, I do think the figure itself looks great. I love the heft to the suit with those armored pieces along with the honeycomb pattern elements covering the base suit. I think it gives the figure a very distinctive appearance, similar to the tactical suit from Justice League. So I like that it sets it apart. I also actually really like the cape on this one. It looks to be a much more fabric-based piece as opposed to the pleather we've seen before, and I'm hoping the pictures aren't misleading and that it's actually wired to give you that great appearance on the bike. But I also like that it drapes on the figure very naturally. Just looks, I think, overall impressive. Other than that, other thing I like here, and I don't know if it's just me, but the material for the undersuit seems a little bit different. It's not fabric, but maybe not the rubbery style material that has been flaking a little bit from previous releases. That might just be me after looking at these pictures for way too long. So I think we'll have to wait for the release to judge if that's true. And then it goes without saying, the bike looks incredible. At first, I wasn't too crazy about the design when it showed up in pictures. It looked a little too boxy, but it's grown on me. And I like that we can have the Batpod, the Robert Pattinson bike, and this one next to each other. I think it definitely lends to the display. And I also like the light up features here, and the fact that it's USB powered is a big plus. I just think it definitely fits well with that Batfleck style. Just like the Tease Batsuits have that retro feel that very much belongs in the Keaton world. So this is coming in 3 versions. The main one we're looking at is the all-in, which includes the figure and the bike, and does give you a little discount. The second is just the figure itself, and the third option is just the bike itself. So again, plenty to pick from here. For me, I'm tempted. The Keaton Modern suit is already ordered, and I do still have my BVS Batman, all 3 versions. I passed on Justice League, but I'm really wondering if I might consider getting this to complete the suits in the collection. Definitely undecided on this one for now. Cost-wise, at almost $700 all in, including shipping and taxes, I'm not sure about this one, especially when you consider everything else coming our way, even from this movie. Okay, next from SooSoo, we're getting their Big Boss 2.0 figure, which is Kingpin based on his appearance in Hawkeye. Now, I don't want to call SooSoo lazy, but I do call out Hot Toys sometimes when they do that stuff. So here they're just repackaging something, and it's basically it's the same identical sculpt we got with the previous release that I reviewed. And I really liked that release. I thought the figure was great, but again, I wasn't as impressed by the sculpt. I thought it was a good one, but I didn't think the likeness was 100% there. So I'm not. Again, I just don't think it completely captured Vincent D'Onofrio's likeness. Now here you're getting the same exact sculpt, so same issue for me personally. You are getting a different clothing set, which looks great. I mean, he's got the Hawaiian shirt, he's got the chain, he's got the nice white suit and the long overcoat, as well as the hat. So from a look point of view, I think they did a good job overall recreating that version of Kingpin from the show. Other thing on this one of note, he's another limited release capped at 300. SooSoo has been doing that a lot lately. Not sure if we should read too much into that, but it's just curious. Maybe they're dialing down production as well on figures like everyone else seems to be doing. Now, as is always the case, I did have a moment of temptation here, thinking he'd look great standing next to Kate Bishop, but then I really started thinking, we've got so many other releases coming in from Hot Toys, InArt, Dan Toys, third-party companies. Looking at him, even though I get a lot of Marvel figures, I don't need to be a completist. And I'm happy enough with the original Boss Man in his wedding suit from the final fight in Season 3 of Daredevil. Here, I'm not that crazy about the clothing set they gave him on the show, so I think it'll be a pass. If you are interested in a Kingpin, though, he does seem to be available for a reasonable cost, so it could be an option. For me, the other thing holding me back is that we are in the future going to be getting that new Daredevil show, and I would not be surprised if Hot Toys actually gave us a Hot Toys version of Kingpin from the show. And if they don't, I still have my 1.0 Boss Man figure and the older one from Toys Works, so I won't be too upset, but I can get myself a little breathing room to wait to see if we'll get anything from that. So moving on to our final announcement from Present Toys, we have the Suit Killer, and let's not make any mistakes here, this is their version of John Wick from Chapter 4. Initial observations, he seems a little light on the accessories. He's got a single gun and the nunchucks, and that's it. I personally feel like he should be a more loaded release. Other thing here, the suits look good. They look like they're nicely tailored, and he does come with the alternate shirts to create the all-black clothing look. Figure seems to have some good posability as well. Now, if it seems like I'm trying to find nice things to say, it's because I am, because then we have to talk about the sculpt. It just feels very third-party. Does it look like Keanu Reeves? Sure. At quick glance, it does look like him, but I honestly don't think it's a great sculpt at all. Not when you compare it to other sculpts we've seen. Now granted, I also have to say, with the exception of that Neo Hot Toys gave us from The Matrix, I also feel like their John Wick sculpt wasn't 100% there. So look, this is an option, but what gives me pause right now is frankly that tease we saw from Hot Toys a while ago that they pulled down. Hot Toys made a big deal earlier in the year about having the license for the movie, and the one teaser image they had showed a really nicely detailed pistol with a suit that had some really great fabric selections. It just looked more high-end. Not sure what's going on with those figures or the license in general, but with the possibility of those being released, this one is an easy pass. I do feel like Present Toys can be hit or miss with some pretty decent releases coupled with some lackluster ones, and unfortunately I think this one falls under the latter. But there is a John Wick available now if anyone's interested. For me, if I had to pick, I might actually try to go back and get that original John Wick figure from Hot Toys instead. It just had so many more accessories, and I think I'd rather do that instead of getting this Present Toys version. So, moving on to releases. I think, again, this was a light week overall, but Hot Toys did release the DX Bespin Luke. I think overall it turned out great. Now, at one point, I did own the original Dual Pack DX with the Weather Vane. That was an amazing figure that I unfortunately ended up trading away. Don't judge me too harshly, but yeah, I did that. That really felt like a DX release when you looked at everything included, and it actually included 2 full figures. Not to knock this version, which actually turned out well. I think the sculpts look great, the clothing and the tailoring turned out well as well. So if you missed out on that original, I think this one is a great option, with some marked improvements over that first DX release. Although that diorama Weather Vane was really impressive and made that original set stand out. But again, that's more me regretting trading that figure away than really judging this release. But overall thoughts, it turned out well. So that was a quick look at this week's 6-scale collecting news that piqued my interest in one way or another. Seemed a little more tame than past weeks, and with us hitting summer, I'm wondering if this is the slight lull before the storm, as past years have hit us hard with Hot Toys and their summer showcases. So I guess we'll see what comes out our way in the coming weeks. Now, let me know what you think about some of these news pieces, or if there's something I missed that could be interesting. And as always, thanks for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.